tourism industry, whose shoulders we stand on. You're still very valuable in the tourism industry because your knowledge, I'm trying to convey how important your knowledge is to help willing young persons learn from some very great techniques that you have, that you learned. You didn't wake up with it. If you were so inclined and blessed, you were born into a family that worked in the hospitality industry, and it got passed to you at the kitchen table around your chores and the like. But then there were those of us who were also equally as blessed to work as porters and bus boys and bus girls and learn at the feet of some great people whose early station in life during those circumstances allowed them to work as waiters and waitresses. But as Mrs. Mabry, Sam Mabry's mom, who used to give me a ride to school some mornings, pick me up at the bus and say, "Let me remind you of something, young man. I know you're a very good footballer and you're going to a very good school, but I want you to remember this. No matter what you choose to do in life, do it to the best of your ability. Give it your all. It doesn't matter if you decide to go work in the garbage collection area. Only thing I ask of you is to be the best one that ever worked at that job. Be the best at what you do." That's the type of advice that you received in the village from people who were growing up. And they did it in faith, in good faith, that there was someone conveying that same message to their children. Because many families had to work 2 and 3 jobs to survive and have any hope of getting ahead. Mortgages weren't readily available. You couldn't plan your life around a 30-year mortgage so that you can have. But back then, thankfully, people set wages where one week's wage would cover your rent. Today, there are many people whose monthly salary would gobble up the majority of what they make. And so a single family household, there are many single family households where the mom or the dad, if that's the case, cannot earn sufficiently to make ends meet. In the day of hospitality, when hospitality was the main driver of the GDP, Bermudians did work 2 and 3 jobs on a regular basis. It was not uncommon for someone, a man, to work his 9-to-5er for Balco or Telco. Work 3 hours from 6 to 9 as a wine steward. Drive taxi for 2 hours or 3 before he went and got a little sleep and turned it over again, and maybe work 1 or 2 days of the weekend and play for his favorite football team on the weekend and be good enough to be on the national team. "Oh, Swan, man, you're making that up." No, I can call names. But, the audience out there, you know exactly people I'm talking about. You can think of them. Some of them have the last name of Walkers and Deans and the like that I would have worked with, that would have been some of your greatest cup match players, county cup players, national team football and cricket, worked in the hotel, worked 2 and 3 jobs. Dennis Wainwright, wow. And still find time to train, keep their bodies fit, keep their minds, look after their families. Some would have held multiple jobs working as, I know a Bermudian, an iconic historic Bermudian as well, may he rest in peace, whose first trade was tiling. He was a great tiler, who then became a very good golfer, was a golf professional. represented Bermuda, was the first Bermudian to qualify for the British Open in 1971. He also was a top-class musician who worked with Lance Hayward, so you know he was good if he was in Lance Hayward's band. And they performed many years in Jamaica at Half Moon. The Half Moon Hotel had a Bermudian connection. Heinz Simowitz, who was connected with Elbow Beach, went south and ran Half Moon as well. Right there in Montego Bay. Lantana owners had a hotel in Jamaica as well up there in Vermont, Sugarbush in Vermont. So the connections between Bermuda and other jurisdictions was very significant. So Bermudians, through their prowess in entertainment, weren't limited just to our shores. And there have been many Bermudian businesses that have connections in the United States and in the Caribbean. And many Bermudians have worked in the Caribbean. So there are some benefits to us having those Caribbean connections redeveloped with the younger people to not only connect culturally with what we have in common, as it's important to connect culturally with what we have in common with the United Kingdom, as such in Canada, as such in America. You know, it's important to diversify. But as I started off the show today, and I came in earlier to be able to program and connect with you earlier, I got a number of calls from persons out there listening who truly appreciated hearing some of the Bermudian artists from yesterday. And we have some songs in here that I remember as a youngster growing up, and from these groups. And I'm sure many of you do, as you've shared, remember and appreciate them as well. I do believe that in the hospitality industry, and I've seen it being done with our minister, the Honorable Owen Darrell, I have certainly seen him make a concerted effort to amalgamate the culture of Bermuda into the promotion of Bermuda. Not just talking about it, but getting people to sample it overseas as well. That's important. It's important that people know that cup match doesn't happen just because of that Thursday and Friday in October. Cup match happens because of the experience that our people endured. Our forefathers, my great-grandmother, Harriet Babes Rattray, and those from the Somerset community and St. George's community wanted to honor their parents and grandparents. She would have wanted to honor her father, born in 1834, and her grandfather, born in 1799. She was my father's grandmother. That's not that long ago in the terms of generations. Generations passed on, because you can't take it with you. So wealthy generations make sure that their family lineage has generational wealth. Our generation didn't have that luxury in great abundance, because those of us who can trace our family lineage to 1799, like I can in the legacy of Charles Rook Rattery, hit a void when you hit his mother, Sarah. We know nothing about her. Why? Because of what we had to endure, what the world profited off of. And history for 200 years, 300 years before that was a race for us. But we did pass on generational values. we did pass down generational culture to remember and celebrate those values. So that's how Cup Match comes about. That's how County Game comes about. That's how the Gumbe is that we celebrate in color, in imagery, in dance. But the meaning behind it is significant. That's what culture, that's what appreciating your history, that's what appreciating the art, visual arts does for you. It's an expression. So it's important that people know and appreciate the story behind the expression. And it's important to be truthful as you communicate the story behind that. I often tell people as we celebrate the reopening of the Southampton Princess, to tell the true story about the origins of that property as well. That property was built for the better interest of tourism in Bermuda, opened in 1970, and there were stories connected with it. There were families that lived on that property. My family, the Hall family, the Boris family. Isaac McKinley Hall married into the Boris family. Isaac McKinley Hall came from the United Kingdom with a brother, and they lived in Southampton. And when he married into the Boris family, never the two should really connect after that. That's truth. There's property owned by the Borises. My great-grandmother was compulsory required to provide a iconic hotel property. So when we speak and let people know that 50-odd years later, we're having to reconfigure how that property functions and sell homes to connect with it, it's important that we remember that and appreciate that there are some considerations for the preservation of culture and history and the celebration of where we've come from in Bermuda. That person shouldn't just come and work in Bermuda and not appreciate the struggles that people had to endure, and there are people in our midst that want us just to forget all of that and start a clean. But communities, and I'm very blessed to have many facets of the world as part of my family diaspora, my family being, particularly with my family that I am the father of, with my wife, Arcinda Marina, from Guatemala and Spanish Honduras and Belize, down in Central America. My daughter's culture and my stepchildren's culture is part of the Central American, Latin America culture as well, the Mayan culture as well. With their Asian connection, the Chinese connection, and the Japanese connection is part of my family culture as well. When I look at my Boris and Hall connections, I look at the Irish and the Scottish connections that brings, the West Indian connection that fused with. When I look at my Rattray side of my family, Charles wrote Rattray. The Rattrays come from Rattray in Perthshire in Scotland. I've been there. I've seen folks that look like me. I've met a doctor who told me his best friend was a Rattray and used to talk about his cousins in the Caribbean. They talk about us in those areas as well. But in our own island, when we universally can embrace that spirit that comes over us for 2 days in Cup Match, when we can make the importance of that culture and let people who are in this country all celebrate how we are connected, then we're on to something. Yes, when I talk about the Borises, where did the Borises come from? Well, Edgar Boris, my great-grandmother's brother, their mother was a Higginbottom from St. George's. And the Higginbottoms weren't black. They were white. And connected to most of the major families in St. George. And I'm going back now to the 18 and 1700s. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I can stand here and embrace all those connections, but speak the truth and say that as we find people that will love our country, there are visitors that come here that love that about us in great abundance. I see them at the hotel Newstead that I'm connected with now. I see them. I saw them at the Belmont. I saw them at Castle Harbor. They participated in my development. I often tell you that growing up at the Belmont, there was a gentleman and his wife that used to visit Bermuda every year in February and October, stay for 2 weeks. And he was one of the chief prosecutors of the Nuremberg trials. Mr. Kaming and Mrs. Kaming. Mr. Kaming was a prosecutor. And for those that may not, what were the Nuremberg trials? The Nuremberg trials were the trials of war criminals during Hitler's time who were brought to trial for their crimes against Jewish people. Mr. and Mrs. Kaming loved Bermuda. Mr. and Mrs. Kaming, the prosecutor that prosecuted Goering and all those persons connected with Hitler, loved Bermudians. Mr. and Mr. Kaming helped Bermudians who wanted to go overseas and needed a reference and the like and get further educated and the like. Mr. and Mrs. Kaming were not isolated incidences in this country during that time period as visitors to Bermuda. Mr. and Mrs. Kaming were the rule of many visitors who came to Bermuda and saw Bermudians. Appreciated persons waiting on their table who had the educational aptitude that they possessed as professionals. And the waiters and waitresses I talk about and celebrate on this radio show and on behalf of tourism, we're very talented people. And I talk about Miss Marion Simmons from Somerset. May she rest in peace, and may her niece, who we funeralized yesterday, Ceola Wilson from the Thompson family, may she rest in peace, because the brilliance of her mother and the brilliance of her auntie who worked in the hotel industry and the like were manifested and passed down to her, of which she appreciated and valued all of her life. And as brilliant a journalist as she was, that brilliance wasn't the first generation it was manifested in her family. I'm the benefactor of the generation that birthed her, as well as she came from my community, but I didn't meet her, get to know them in my community. I got to know them in the workplace, in the hospitality industry. In the later part of last year, I made a commitment to go back into my community in Dalton Tucker and try to mentor some young people with my limited resources and donate what I have the most value in. Some people have great value in the banks. The greatest value I have is my knowledge, my passion for what I've learned in life and the people that taught me, and to pass that on. And I go to Dalton Tucker. I go there because I owe a lot. Not to Dalton Tucker, the school, building, physical plant. I owe it to Dalton Tucker, the person that I knew, the reason behind the name of the school. To tell those young people that the Dalton Tucker that they represent is not a building. It's a spirit. It's a person that did great work. It's a person that made you strive for excellence, that demanded it of you, that knew how to get it out of you, in spite of, whose respect went beyond you, went to your families, to your grandparents and the like. And so those young people, out of the 6 that I've had exposure to, 3 of them are so committed to the game of golf. It warms my heart and brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it. And remember, in the spirit of hospitality and the way the Lord works, yes, I talk about the blessings. Sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, the Lord is at work. And when you're trying to do good, the Lord will smile and put good things in your path. Put good people in your path. I took those children to the Bermuda Championship, PGA Tour. 2 of them that came to me all summer with their parents and their grandparents doing golf. So I'd already won the battle, but I want them to finish the race. I say they've won the battle because for me to see young people practicing and their parents staying with them and watching them and seeing them develop a passion for something is a life lesson. If we've got something that we want to improve upon in school, in public school, for the betterment of our business community and grow tourism and get more Bermudians and tourists, what I witnessed in November was phenomenal. I played golf that day with Mr. Kieran, and you tell him I'm talking about him. He's the general manager and principal person on island of the Fairmont Southampton Princess. It may not be Fairmont, the Southampton Princess being developed. Kieran McDonald loves his golf. And he was in my group, and here I roll up with these 2 children dressed in their school uniforms. I remember when the first tee, I told them, come stand up with me, and they're in a marshal says, oh, get back, they can't come over there. I said, they can, huh? So I didn't cause a fuss. When those boys hit off, I says, you're walking with me, come with me, stand right here next to me. And they walked that fairway with me. And they walked that fairway next to Matt Kuchar and the Asian young pro that played with us. I have to remember his name. He was very hospitable. Took pictures with them, talked to them, both of them. But what really stood out to me was something that I believe would make the ethos of getting more Bermudians into the hospitality industry. Mr. Kieran McDonald and Mr. Smith that played along with us in our group start talking to the children. Now these are 9-year-olds, you know. Asking them what are their aspirations. What do they want to do in life? And I'm just smiling. I'm smiling because they're learning. And I, like their school teacher, I just try to make sure you be polite. This is where you stand. You don't go, and you know, they're fidgety and all that. So Mr. McDonald, the general manager at the Princess, says to them, says, look, I tell you what, because the first couple of holes, I had him carrying my bag. I want him to then pictures taken of this young little, small little Joe Trot carrying my bag up number 2 fairway, playing with tour pros. Classic. So then I put my bag back on the cart and I said, listen, bring the clubs to me. And so Mr. McDonald said to these children, said, listen, I tell you what I want you to do. When I go and I hit my shot, I want you to come get my club, put it back where it needs to go in the bag. If you're not sure, ask one of us and we'll tell it where it needs to go, but make sure you clean it off and put them back in there in order. Make sure I have my club. And then if I ask you for a club, you run it over to me and then stand over here and watch. And then take it back and put it back. So they were doing that. They were caddying for me, and they were interacting, and they had a good time. At the conclusion of the round, I said, listen, now you got to go and shake everybody's hand because you're teaching people etiquette. You know, I talk about the late Betty Vincent, who came to Bermuda from England in late 1940s and all that. Those not taught me etiquette. They taught me how to act around a golf course. I was coming from White Hill playing football. I was loud. You think I'm loud? No, you should have seen me then. That's why I used to get in trouble at Berkeley. Till Winton Williams and Roderick Perman molded me out and put me in youth parliament and told me we're going to teach you how to put that to good use. And I learned how to make amendments in 1973. Was picked to represent Bermuda in youth parliament in 1974. Yeah, been around this game a long time of politics. But I'm telling you, this interaction with these children came from the adults that were out in our community. We're talking to them. And Mr. McDonald did a couple of things that just I cannot let go of. He said to them, he says, what's your most favorite hotel in Bermuda? And they paused, and he says, the Southampton Princess Hotel will be opening soon, and not long from now, you'll be old enough to work there. You ask those children now, do they know Joel Trott and Capri Smith at Dalton Tucker? Have they heard about Southampton Princess? They're likely to say, yes, I have. I know the general manager there. Because the general manager at the end of the game, when I told him go shake his hand, he reached in his wallet and gave him $50. He says, thanks for being my caddy today. You too sure that. Oh, my gosh. Now what happens? We ain't got no change, Mr. Swan. How are we going to make sure we shirt is up? So the big job then was to get his shirt up. I think one of the school teachers, because nobody had any cash, the school teacher went down the gas station and shirt up $25. And the interaction that they had with the other golfers in the group, including the tour players. They even met Mr. Buckley. Says, who's Mr. Buckley, Swanee? Well, you heard of SailGP. The team that won in New Zealand, Australia series on Saturday. I get up late nights and watch all that on weekend nights and watch it down in Australia. He owns that team. I got to know him. I made sure they got to know him. If I can tell you that from 11 years old, all I wanted to do was to play football for Chelsea, and 10 years old, I was playing professional golf on a member of the PGA Tour whose office was in the same town, Knightsbridge, that Chelsea occupies. That wasn't luck. That was a blessing from God that took my ability to be a top sportsman and put the right people in place to allow me to get educated in America, win golf in Alabama and Louisiana and Mississippi in the 70s, and then put the right people in place to send me over to Europe and get those experiences for what they're worth in all aspects of life. And what I'm saying is that happened for me between age 11 and 22. I'm trying to involve these children at 9. They've got fundamentals in golf that I didn't get until I was 13. If I've taught young people foundationally that became the number one in Bermuda today, they're not dissimilar from the children at Southampton Glebe, save and except of putting them in the right place. So if I can do that with no money, but love in my heart, and a passion and a belief and knowledge to know how to do it with no money, without building anything, I'm here to tell you that the way in which we get more Bermudians switched on to tourism is to go to the youngest amongst them and realize just how talented they are. And if any of you listening to me today are older than me or my age, and you will remember stories from your parents who said that I was the oldest. The younger ones got the benefit of going to Berkeley to school or Sands to school. Mama and Daddy were working. I raised the family at 11. Let me say that again. How many of you out there older than me at 68 remember stories from your cousins, from your granny? I had to raise a family of siblings at 11 while my mama and daddy worked to get us ahead. And we're wondering why we can't get our people to be all that they can be. If you don't train them right, they ain't gonna be right for this industry or any industry. So how do we rectify that? You focus on the generation coming and train them in the presence of the generation just before them. That's what we owe to ourselves. That's what we did for ourselves. We put that ahead of wealth and riches. Because we never had generational wealth, but we had generational values. And when you stop passing down generational values, you're setting yourself up for serious problems. And I'm telling you what time it is, Ruth, because Ruth, I'm telling you the truth. And we have to tell the truth in our families. I love tourism because tourism is about interpersonal relationships, both in Bermuda to build Bermudians for the industry and internationally to build relationships with people that can appreciate that you put values above anything else. You put honesty in front of everything else. You know what it takes to build up something. Takes repeated foundational commitment to do simple things correctly. Foundation built upon that. 297-1027 is the number. I just want to give thanks and praise. I've dedicated this show unknowingly to Ciola. I had a conversation with Ciola within a week and a half of her passing, where she called my wife, who was away looking for me, and she called me and said, "Hey!" And we had our banter about Somerset and St. George's, and she, with a few choice words, reminded me I came from there. I said, "Well, yeah, I come from White Hill, Death Valley, Somerset Bridge community like you. You know, they don't care for us up in Somerset," but she had relatives up the heart of Somerset. Her uncle was an iconic football player for Somerset, Uncle Leroy. And then she said to me, "I want to organize a reunion for Work Academy." I said, "Ciola? So how many people?" "I want you to get a hold by that boy Casey, that guy that," no, you didn't call him by name, "that guy that did food at Cup Match, because I heard he did a bang-up job down at Cup Match." I said, "Oh, you talking about Carlos Casey?" "Yes, that's him. How do I get a hold by him?" So I said, "Let me call Neil." I got a hold by Neil. I got his number. I sent it to him. So she says, "Because I'm going to get 1,000 people out for that." I said, "Ciola, how you going to get 1,000 people out for a reunion for work?" She says, "You don't know me." I said, "Didn't they get rid of..." "They couldn't get rid of me there. They got rid of some of those lot, like they did for you down Berkeley. But, you all went up work secondly, but, I hung in there. I can get 1,000 out." So I said, "Well, maybe what you need to do is have the event up at Work Academy. They let you have the hall, and then we will find some people to make a donation or something like that to help upon that initiative that you're trying to pull together. Yeah, Ciola Wilson. May she rest in peace, and we thank her for all the good work she did with my wife for Project Action in Bermuda, free charity for seniors and the fiscally challenged. Behind the scenes, she was very much committed to helping people as well in many ways. Good morning, caller. Welcome you on the air.
Good morning, Kim Swan, Mosky. How are you?
Mosky, that's somebody that knows me. Go ahead. Good morning.
Don't keep talking now.
I know who's talking.
Who's talking?
Well, I tell you what. You got a daddy named Kenny Pig. Do I need to continue?
We got nothing. You stop there.
All right. Okay.
I'm going to draw you a rap about my family, right? We guys, my daddy gave us some land and said, look, you guys build this house. And we built onto the homes there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we done two bedroom apartments next door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was able, my mother was able to stay upstairs, before they passed.
Yes.
And now all we families, then we got two more up right here on Boss Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And then my cousin passed, she left us two over there.
Yes.
So, well blessed.
Thank you.
And families got praying together, stays together.
Hey, thank you.
Up a child away, and he won't depart from it.
Hey, thank you for that. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you, and I love seeing you when I'm driving by.
I'm DNR referee. I'm been there 38 years, 39 years.
Yes.
November coming,
All
and
right.
never been late.
Thank you for that.
And I appreciate you not putting on some points the other day for the job we done on in Georgia. So I appreciate you lot.
Thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate you too.
Do the best I can do. I've got one more year to go.
All right.
And I retire.
All right. Bless you, see?
All right.
All right.
All right. God bless you, bro.
Bye. Values passed on from his father. I knew I was talking to his Whitey. I'm a Hog Bay Level boy. Works hard. Just like my good friend Bobby, next door neighbor from White Hill of him. 297-1027. And I believe that is it's not pie in the sky. It's not a lot of advertising money. It's getting people in Bermuda to fall in love with Bermuda. And you won't believe the knock-on effect of repeat guests. I just want to, in closing, recognize this 70th anniversary of the founding of the Pompano Beach Club, and thank the Lamb family for that wonderful family-oriented beach club hotel up there in my hometown on the Southampton coastline. The Pompano Beach Club today can hold its head high as being a great example of what sports tourism represents. I'm very proud that 35 years ago, myself and my assistants, Marie Hassel from St. George's and Alex Medeiros and Janice Robinson, Trot Simons, now Richardson, we were able to bring that couples tournament from St. George's, and Alex brought it up to Pompano, and it continues on today as a staple event. They might even have two of them, growing event that brings tourists to Bermuda. That's the type of thing I believe that allows us to market through people that fall in love with Bermuda. Good morning, caller. You got a minute.
Sorry.
Good morning, caller. Okay, feel free to call us back, 297-1027, as we come up to the top of the hour. I'm going to leave you this morning with a blessing from the Upper Room Quintet. Lord willing, I'll be back with you next week. I'll come in early as I did today, do what I have to do at the top of the hour, and come back with you on the other side. So look for me about 9:45 next week, Wednesday, on Tourism in Focus. The Upper Room Quintet coming to you to take you to the top of the hour. Bermuda group from back in the day.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.